Hello, welcome back to, I'm gonna call this Jellos Film Review, because that is my nickname. So my first movie that I went to go watch was Black Bag. Honestly, phenomenal movie. The director behind it was Steven Soderbergh. He actually made Ocean's 11 and Ocean's 13 movies, so kind of fits perfect into how he directed Black Bag. So Black Bag was a movie based on intelligent agents, almost like the CIA, but this took place in the UK. And throughout the entire movie, they were trying to figure out who was the mole within the agency, as they're giving off secret information that was helping the terrorists in the movie. One thing that I kind of liked about the movie was is intricacy. I went to go watch it at the Logan Theater. It was really fun, actually. So kind of walking in the Logan Theater, it was like very nice and kind of retro. So you've seen a lot of like retro movies and kind of movie posters all over the theater. I drove there. It was me and my friend. We went to go watch it. I don't think I've been there since I was a kid, so to be honest, it was nice coming back to it. I went to go use the bathroom by the bar area, and I noticed how lively the bar area was. It was packed with like a bunch of people. It almost felt like a different section of the movie theater, where it was like a hangout spot. People were at the bar talking. It was nice, and it had like a nice red ambiance, like a warm color. People were really nice. The attendees were really nice too. I think that's what kind of set the tone, because it felt like they actually like liked their job, compared to when you like go to AMC. Everyone feels like they're just half-assing it, and it just doesn't really feel like you're gonna really enjoy the movie. So almost kind of set the tone of how the theater was. But the coolest part that I liked till this day was walking in the movie theater. Instead of like going through like a little maze to get to like the seats, you open the door, and then in the middle of the row is just a road going straight down to the movie theater, and all the seats are on the side. So I thought that was pretty cool. I felt like I was gonna watch like a really good movie, and I don't know, it just felt like it just felt really nice. And just the ambiance, like it wasn't a huge theater, but it just made like the walls and ceiling made it really big. So that's one thing I really loved about the Logan Theater. Originally I was gonna go to the Davis Theater, but they closed a few times because all the movies that I watched were like late night, around like 10:30, 11ish. So that's kind of my fault. But anyways, the movie Black Bag was about what I was saying: intelligent agents are trying to find a mole within their agency. And the best part about it was how they laid out the movie. So I honestly thought it was gonna be like, you know how you can tell some movies are very straightforward and you know who the villain or like who the antagonist is. It kind of threw me and my friend off on who it was, because the other movie we were trying to guess who it was, but the entire time it was like leading us off into like different areas of like kind of like who is it gonna be, who is the bad guy, and you know, such and such. But yeah, it wasn't really packed, to be honest. It was probably like 5-6 people, knowing it was like late night. But even still, the seats were way more comfortable than AMC. Like, even though like AMC has reclining seats, these seats felt like you're sitting on a nice cushioned couch. So I think that kind of felt like it made me more into the movie, compared to just like always like adjusting my seat and how I usually do at like AMC theaters. Like I felt so comfortable, I was like in the movie. But yeah, it was just a few agents trying to figure out who the mole was. The main guy, he was like this really like brilliant analysis. So he's always like analyzing everybody, their strengths and weaknesses, and he's very over the top about like certain details, saying like he basically keeps tabs on everyone else, and especially his wife. So he has a lot of insight on like everybody's life, and he was trying to basically connect the dots on who was the mole within their friend group. So it was like a friend group of all these agents. He invited them over dinner, blah blah blah, and then later to find out it was someone within the family, not the family, but the friend group. And the way it ended, it was crazy. The ending basically was, so the movie's called Black Bag, but we didn't see the black bag till the very end of the movie, where the protagonist's wife pulls out a gun from the black bag, and basically playing Russian roulette and spinning whoever picks up the gun first is going to be the traitor. Also, one more thing that we learned in class that was actually seen in the film, there was a good 7 to 10 minutes of it within the beginning, was the chamber piece that we did in our class. It kind of made me appreciate a little bit more on how just having a sit down talk or just being in one location can make emotions, or how I would describe it, it can drive emotions. So overall, 8 out of 10 movie, just because the slow pace wasn't really for me, but the complexity of the movie was there and I really liked it. And definitely is a must watch for people who love slow burning movies. So go and watch it if you're that person. Alright, so second movie that I went to go watch was Mickey 17. It was at the same theater, the Logan Theater. And funny enough, we were in the same movie theater we went to go watch Black Bag in. There was actually a few people. I mean, it was probably like 4 people. It was pretty late. We watched it around like 10:30ish, I think. And it was me, my friend again. The vibe of the movie, I don't know. I don't know if it's just me, but every time I walk in there, it just makes me feel like I'm about to experience a good movie. Something about walking down the corridor and then going into my seat, it feels like retro. And just even coming out of the movie, like I literally spent like 15 minutes kind of just like looking at the posters outside the movie theater, not outside the movie, but like in the movie theater, but outside of the movie room. It was these nice retro movie theaters. I like going on Wednesdays because I literally found out that's $5 Wednesdays at the Logan Theater, so I thought that was pretty neat. Save myself some money, and AMC would never do that. But other than that, the movie theater, okay, one thing about the movie theater I really like was when you go in the bathroom, they also have like the retro movie posters, and they even have like special events that they're hosting like later in the week. Like they have $10 Saturdays, Sundays, or $10 weekends of the movies. So pretty neat. And the bathroom just felt retro. The entire movie theater felt retro. I don't know, just I'd probably watch my movies there from now on compared to AMC. And it just felt clean in there. But other than that, the movie was actually really interesting. I thought it was probably my favorite one that I've watched so far. I don't know, it intrigued me because it made it so relatable to like what's happening around us, especially with like capitalism. But the movie was about this guy who signs up to be an expendable, meaning he's used to as like a lab rat, and he dies over and over again testing different, like when they first get onto the planet where they're gonna colonate, he's the one that tests if there's a virus. They find a cure because he kept on testing them over and over. He basically kept on dying and dying. But later he gets copied into, the reason it's called Mickey 17 is because he's going to be the 17th clone, but he was supposed to die, but he survives. And there is a, what is it called, the regeneration pod, where they made another copy of him. And the climax was, not really the climax, but the whole issue was there's 2 expendables, meaning they had the jurisdiction that was running the whole operation had to kill one of them, but obviously both of them didn't want to die because they felt like the real Mickey, like they felt like the original Mickey. So there's a whole conflict between like identity, and I think that was like the biggest issue discussed throughout the movie was identity, and how he was conflicted on if it was moral to kill either him or the clone. But later at the end, the clone Mickey 18, he later detonates himself and the president of the colony. And basically the president of the colony was a tyrant, so he wasn't doing any good and he wasn't really leading anything, so it just felt like he was a douchebag. I think it was Mark Ruffalo playing him, the guy that played the Hulk. I think I'm getting his name right. I'm not too sure. I'm pretty sure it's Mark Ruffalo. But it was pretty cool to see him play anything else but the Hulk or Bruce Banner, because he was basically a douchebag throughout the movie. It was kind of funny. Like I just can't see him while seeing the Hulk or Bruce Banner. But yeah, other than that, I thought the movie was really awesome. It was amazing to watch because they talked a lot about the things that we also kind of connected with in class, like how I think it was with a few movies. I think throughout what I've learned, especially coming to your classes, is we connect movies to our personal lives. It's kind of like what you said, movies make who we are, and we watch. It's almost like the phrases like we are, or hold on, like the phrase "you are what you eat," and it's almost like movies make us in that factor. So this movie kind of touched on just like resistance within, like resisting against capitalism, especially how capitalism can go wrong, because the whole reason he was becoming expendable was because Earth didn't have any resources and people were being desperate to even go on the colony mission to go to another planet and survive over there. So I think overall this movie kind of touched on that factor, because it made me think on, like, it made me connect back to my life, like what is the future gonna look like if we keep on going where we are in life, especially that we're not stopping within producing all these things that are causing, emissions in the sky. And especially, like, even though Teslas are green free or there's no gas, the production of them does release a lot of carbon dioxide, of what I've looked on the internet. So it kind of made me connect back to my life, and that's kind of something we did a lot throughout class, and I'm kind of taking away and kind of like connecting it to how the movie made me connect back to my life. And it almost like I kind of put myself in that prediction, like what would I do in his situation? Like, would I be desperate? Would I leave Earth just because everything's not going well? Or would I stay and kind of like struggle it out? So I think that's something that kind of hit me in a different way, if that makes sense. It almost like gave me like a reality check. It's almost like a what if situation, as in like, what if my life looked different if I didn't, I guess, take things seriously in that aspect. But I think it was pretty cool. A lot of throughout the movie, it was him trying to figure out how he could solve the issue and how he can take down the tyrant. So it was pretty cool seeing a lot of the resistance that was in the movie, and also how camera angles really played a big role in this movie, especially in getting the full picture of the environment. There was a lot of wide shots throughout the movie, especially when they first land on the planet. There's a big wide shot of him walking through the like winter storm, and kind of like him coming out the regeneration pod, because every single time he dies, he would basically get cloned and he would come out the regeneration pod. But the way it felt a little like eerie, because if I could pull up a scene, I don't know if I could, but every time he came out, he would come out like a conveyor belt. It was almost like, to me, it felt like weird, because it felt immoral, it didn't feel right to have someone come out of a pod and be cloned. And I don't know, I think it just felt like a factory. It felt like he was just being produced just to do a certain job or certain work. It didn't feel like he had a life. And that's kind of what I kind of took away from the movie, is like the moral aspect of like taking away someone's identity just for the greater good of science. So, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of like projects that the CIA or like the FBI or the government does that we don't know. And so yeah, it's like, I don't know, it's even still kind of thinking about it, it just kind of takes the identity away from someone. And it's like thinking about it to my life and just like real life in general, it's like, how do certain things take away our identity? It's almost like TikTok in a way, of like, we are the consumers, and how does that affect our lives? Like, for me at least, I don't really like scrolling, or as we call it, doom scrolling, because I feel like I'm taking away time that I could be doing to improve on myself, but instead I just be doom scrolling. Especially with like the internet, I feel like the internet, it kind of takes away identity and it makes us feel consumed. That's why I feel like you don't really get stuff done when you're always doom scrolling, and it kind of does take the self-identity away, because you're not really putting the effort to kind of, shape who you are as a person. And that's also another thing. TikTok does influence a lot of people's identity, and it doesn't really give like a genuine aspect of who they are as a person. So it also makes me kind of like connecting this to the movie and what we talked in class, and how like certain films does kind of impact who we are. And it's like, for example, like all the stuff that I watched as a kid is kind of who I am now, and like how I enjoy and how I want to enjoy films. So kind of like how you mentioned in class, it's like you want to see yourself on the big screen, because if you see yourself on the big screen, then you know you can kind of do it. You know that it kind of enforces the idea in the head that you can be that certain person that you envision, and that's how movies kind of create that atmosphere for us. So kind of this movie brought me back to what we learned in class, and how self-identity is a big aspect into being who we are as a person, and that's how movies make us. And I think it's just really cool, kind of like what I learned throughout the class and the whole semester, of like looking at movies isn't just watching just to watch it, but also we watch it and consume it because it kind of helps us understand what we want to be in life. And kind of like, especially like I'm only 21, and I'm still navigating life, and everything is still pretty hard, but movies kind of give me that outlet of like the specific person I want to be. It's almost like I take different pieces of different movies and kind of put it together into the person that I want to be. So that's probably one of the biggest things that I connect this film back into class, is self-identity and just kind of figuring out who we are in life. And I don't know how I got here, but I think that's just how I felt about this movie. I thought it was a really good movie. Congrats to Bong Joon, the director of Parasite. Amazing movie. I need to rewatch that. But overall, one prop I would take from this movie is the regeneration pod, because it was seen a lot throughout the movie. And the fact that the people who were running it didn't feel like they're genuine scientists. It just felt like they were hired just to run the machine, because there was a lot of like fuck ups throughout the entire cloning process with him, especially with like different versions of like he had like a whole genetic mutation. He kept on dying because of it. But overall, I would take that prop because it was seen throughout the movie, and it helped convey the whole, I guess dark feeling about it. I don't know how to explain it. I think it's the fact that it made me feel like it was a printing process. Like it was just a machine just to print out a human being, just to be used for someone else's benefit. So kind of like taking advantage of it. So that is my takeaway from the movie. A 9 out of 10 movie. I thought it was a really good touch on the whole dark demeanor of the movie, and kind of how like even towards the end, Mickey was still having nightmares about the tyrant. His name was Marshall, about how he was being resurrected. So it kind of ties into how even after he killed him, he still had fear about him, just based off his authority, and how he controlled so much of his life as a clone, and how he missed out on so much he could have done for himself to make who the person he was. So overall, love the movie. 9 out of 10. Okay, so final movie was The Twister Caught in the Storm, directed by Alexandra Lacey. And this was a documentary. I watched it on Netflix. It was really good. You should watch it. But basically, this took place in Joplin, Missouri, where the class of 2011 went through an EF5 tornado that hit their hometown and destroyed a lot of the buildings and killed a lot of people, especially the ones that were closest to the one in the documentary. But basically, it just kind of goes over what they were experiencing, and they actually have footage of what they were actually experiencing. So the people that are in the documentary were filming it, and it was just crazy to see like this to be real, because like a lot of like documentaries do a little editing and they kind of make it, their own. And it had some parts and elements in this movie, but a lot of the footage was kind of like found footage that they had from the survivors. So I watched this in my living room. It was pretty nice. I watched this by myself, and kind of like throughout, I would switch between my living room and I would watch on my iPhone. So I'd watch on both devices. And the reason was because I was watching this while doing homework and washing dishes and also eating. So I kind of enjoyed it because I was really invested in it. Even though I was doing all those things, I was pretty invested in the movie just because of the realism in it. And it's the fact that it kind of made me feel a little not sentimental but remorseful for the people that were affected in the movie, just because of the fact of like how the movie was portrayed and how like this could have happened to any of us. And it's like they just graduated, and literally the night of the graduation that they were having the party, a tornado hit, and it caught everyone by surprise because they're in Tornado Alley and everybody is so used to the tornado sirens, so they just thought it was like another, random tornado. But little did they know it was a big tornado. And overall, I really loved the movie. It was amazing. I would actually rather watch this in theaters just because there were some moments I kind of missed out throughout the movie because I was so busy, like either washing some dishes or just I kind of had it on the side of my monitor while I was playing games. So it was more like a podcast for me more than like kind of watching. I was watching here and there, but I wasn't giving it my full attention like I would in a movie theater. So that's kind of like one aspect I am missing, but I still enjoyed the movie just because of that realism aspect. They showed like the graduation, and they actually showed footage of them in the car while the tornado was behind them and chasing them. But yeah, overall, I actually really loved the movie just because it kind of made me feel like I was in the movie, and there's a lot of aspects that I actually seen in the movie that we learned in class, such as Foley. So obviously, they're not gonna have a lot of the sounds coming straight from the tornado, so they actually added a lot of like what I noticed, like wind noises and like glass shattering that were in the background that didn't look like it should have been part, but it was part. So it made me feel like I was in there, and you can hear the screaming and like cars being thrown around, the car alarms. So it kind of added like another depth to kind of the movie. So it's kind of what we learned, and how Foley and how sound design just plays a big impact, especially like targeting certain emotions. So it kind of made me feel the same fear that they were experiencing in the storm, and even the aftermath, like just kind of like when they were walking, you can hear the rubble underneath their feet, and just how everything that they're stepping on felt broken, like broken glass, metal shards, and just even like the scruffed up dirt. So I guess the sound design really kind of hit home for me, where it kind of made me feel how people would feel in that event, where they would be scared, kind of clueless, and just worried, about if they're gonna make it out alive or not, which they talked a lot about in the movie. So a lot of them kind of base it off luck and just kind of base it off God, and that God was watching over them, and how they survived just because of that factor. And I think this movie, or this documentary, was definitely a 10 out of 10. Must watch. I feel like everybody should watch this one. It feels different. It feels like this could happen to any of us, even if it was like a lightning storm or flash floods. Like, it can happen to any of us. But if one thing I could pick from the movie, it would probably be car keys, because a lot of the time you would hear car keys jingling in the car when they're driving, and you would hear them when they were running. So I thought that played a key factor, because I don't know, something about car keys, like when you hear someone running with car keys, it feels like they're running away from something, or they're just running in general. So I would take car keys within this, I would take it as a prop from this movie, as it was something, it added like a certain layer of depth for me. It just made me feel like I was in the movie running alongside with them. So overall, 10 out of 10 documentary, must watch. Definitely must watch. And so here we are, the end of the semester for this class. And I'm gonna be honest, this is a class I did not expect to be in, or what I even expected to. I took a lot of film classes throughout high school and my first year in college, but this film class definitely hit a little different, just because I felt like I could apply a lot of the stuff that we talked to like my personal life and just life in general. And it kind of hit me when the first day of class when Nikki was like, you either show up or you don't show up, but you need to do the fucking things that you need to do. So that's just my way of paraphrasing it, but it kind of made me feel like I need to do everything in life intentionally. Not everything in life, but have some type of attention behind my motives. And that's something I want to take out of this class, and that was stuck to me. And it was just a fun class in general. Like, showing up didn't feel like I was showing up just to show up, but it made me feel like that I was showing up so I can learn something from the class. And honestly, if you do the work, put in the time that you need, you're gonna get what you receive. And that's kind of something I learned from this class too, because not all film classes I took were hands-on. It was all writing based, but this specific film class was definitely hands-on. I actually get to put things that I learned in class and put them into action when making certain movies. And all the movies that we made, I love each and every one of them. It taught me a lot, especially with editing and just kind of using different camera angles to express certain emotions that I want to express and I want the audience to feel. But other than that, it's just, the biggest takeaway for me is just putting in the work. You get what you put out of. And that's something Nikki definitely taught me within this semester of just this class. And I feel like I've learned more in this class than any other class relating to my life in general. Just because, like, everything that she was doing and she made us learn was intentional and how we can apply it to our lives. So overall, 10 out of 10 class. I would retake this in any other timeline, but this is the only timeline I get. Soon I'm gonna graduate, but overall, I love this class. It taught me a lot, and especially it taught me a lot to connect with the people around me, and that I don't always need to be on my phone, or I don't always need to be doing something, but I can talk to the people around me. So that's another thing. It kind of helped me with communicating with other people and kind of collaboration. So overall, love the class. Would take it again. And thank you, Nikki. Appreciate all the memories that I made in this class. Thank you again.